Bitcoin is making all-time highs. Altcoins are going up a little bit, but they're not really responding all that much. So we're going to talk about 4 signs that altcoin season could be coming. And of course, we've talked about these before, but we're going to do a video just on this. Number 1 is open interest. What is open interest? Open interest applies to futures generally, and it's the number of unsettled contracts on futures. The more unsettled contracts there are, it generally means that there's a surge that people have opened up new unsettled contracts. And what that means is like interest in the asset is growing. Now, it could be they're anticipating a big dip as well, so it's not always positive. But in general, when open interest does actually go up, the amount of excitement is back in crypto, and prices a lot of times start rising soon afterwards. Now, open interest has actually gone up on like XRP, Dogecoin, and a couple of the major coins, but only about 4 or 5%. So you can't really tell anything by that. But if it all of a sudden surges way up by several times, then you might actually be correct in assuming that something big is coming. So hopefully within the next week or two, we'll see a big surge up. And if we see a big surge up, then we can actually ascertain that something is indeed coming. So let's actually keep an eye on that. The second one I've talked about is Google Trends. And there's several things you can look at Google Trends, basically. On one is obviously crypto, the search term, and not Bitcoin, the search term, crypto, the search term. Generally, you want to look at the past 12 months for a better comparative measure. As you can see, crypto, the search term, actually has gone down from May 11th through 17th. From 32 to 31 to May 18th through 24th. But of course, the complete data is not available. So like in a couple of days, today is the 21st. So by the 24th, 25th, you want to look at this to see if it's actually gone up. Because if it's actually like rising like here, or even rising like here, or maybe even rising like here, then you can see that like the overall interest in crypto is going up. Now, you generally want to see 2 weeks of consecutive decent size rise because that just establishes a trend. Like a 1 week thing could just be like one big thing happening in crypto. I do remember when SBF got arrested, it shot up for a week and then just came straight down. But crypto obviously is not the only search term, and you don't want to just look at web search. You want to look at like, YouTube search. Obviously, YouTube search for crypto is still way down. You want to look for news search as well. People are getting more curious in crypto. So essentially the news search is slightly up, but the others are down. So that does not indicate any kind of trend that overall altcoins are kind of like getting in the game. You can look at for more than 18 months, but if you look compared to the 5 years, there's just more people in crypto now, or like interested in crypto now than there was like years and years ago, especially except for the spike up period. So looking for the past 12 months is probably the best data you are actually going to get. You want to look at news search, web search, and YouTube search. You want to look at both United States and the world. Although looking at United States is probably a better kind of like comparison right now, because a lot of the interest money is from the United States, or a lot of the investment money is from the United States. So that's what's really going to make prices go up. So United States past 12 months is an excellent indicator of if crypto is actually going to burst out or not. If you see 1 week of suddenly like really high burst, or like 2 weeks of consecutive burst, then you know that crypto is basically about to take off. I've definitely explained this before, but Google Trends is actually way more reliable than just about any other graph. But sometimes it is a lagging indicator because you have to wait for 2 weeks. But generally a pump, like a major pump, lasts for more than 2 weeks, and you do still have at least some time to buy. Even if you follow this particular indicator. The third one is media coverage. Now, many of you have told me that, when your grandma asks you about Bitcoin or whatever, then it's time to sell. That's not necessarily true. Like, if they know you're in crypto, they'll just ask all the time. even when there's like a little bit of a shift. So it's not really an indicator. But if mainstream media like CNBC, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, when they seriously start talking a lot about Bitcoin and altcoins, then you know that the bull run is actually on. It takes them a while, so they might be a lagging indicator unless there's like one that goes way, way, way up. So that essentially is another big tell that the bull run is on if all the news networks are actually talking about it, especially in this day and age, because there's so much big news with Trump and like the tariffs and like how foreign people are responding. If crypto manages to get a good amount of airtime with all these big stories swirling around, then yeah, crypto could definitely be in for a bull market. So keep an eye peeled out on the big news networks. It's not really like Twitter or anything because, like people always are going to mention stuff like crypto a little bit more on Twitter and social media than usual. But if the big news networks start picking up crypto, especially with all the big news coming out recently and crypto sticks out, then you know that crypto might be about to take off. And of course, the last one is an indicator of Bitcoin dominance dropping past 60. Now, 60 is not a very hard thing to actually drop past. But right now, even with the rise about 20 something percent a couple of weeks ago, it was only at 62. And now it's gone back up past 63. So it would take, 2 or 3 times the rise that we experienced in that 20% pump about 3 weeks ago to actually kind of establish a bull market for altcoins or an altcoin season. I do believe that in that stretch of time, sometime in in the November, December range, where we did have like a mini alt season, sort of, that the dominance did definitely drop below 60%. It hasn't really dropped below 60% since then. A drop to 62 does not indicate an alt season, but a drop to 55 or something could definitely indicate an alt season. Now, at the height of alt season, if we have a decent one, I do actually believe that it's going to drop below like the mid 50s and probably into the 40s. But if we drop below 60, that's another turning point that you do actually need to look at, because that just tells you that we've dropped a significant amount, and it is the altcoins, not just the stable coins, that are actually eating into Bitcoin share. Obviously, Ethereum is an indicator that you do want to look at. Many people are saying altcoins aren't going anywhere until Ethereum gets to an all-time high. I don't actually believe that's true anymore, because there's enough coins on Solana, Sui, and others to actually not depend so much on Ethereum. But let's be real, a lot of coins are still ERC20. And because a lot of coins are still ERC20, Ethereum still does have an outsized effect. So if you see Ethereum rising up, then that actually might give you an early indicator, even if the smaller cryptos aren't rising up. Because Ethereum will inevitably pull all the ERC20s up, and that will affect the rest of the market. Although I don't think the effect is going to be nearly as big from Ethereum as it was 5 years ago. People are also talking about, those are the 4 that I would actually look at. But there are others that I want to talk about as well, like open interest, Google Trends, media coverage, Bitcoin dominance. Those are the 4 I want to look at. Obviously, some people are pointing to the rate cuts. And I do think they will be a bit of a signal, but not as much as people would actually think. Remember, Moody's did actually downgrade the U.S. credit rating, and I think that's going to offset some of the rate cuts. That's why you see the 30-year bond and the 10-year bond rising so much today, because it gets harder for your country to borrow money if they downgrade your credit rating. Now, to be sure, the U.S. is still AA1, which is still a very high credit rating, but they lost the AAA rating, and all 3 credit ratings agencies have actually downgraded them now. So I do think it will cost more for the country to borrow money. I think mortgage rates are actually going to go up because of that, and that definitely may not benefit us so much in the crypto market. I think we need more than one rate cut to really start bringing it down at this point. Obviously, you have the trade war stuff. That could easily be a trigger, or it could be a negative trigger if we don't sign deals in time. And of course, you have to look at the various states signing crypto reserve bills. The latest one is Texas, and that is a pretty big GDP. But you have to look into the specifics of those bills, because it's not enough just to pass it. You have to see like if they actually allow the state to actually invest in crypto with state funds, because if it's budget neutral, then it may not actually affect it all that much. Obviously, Michael Saylor is going to be continuing to buy, but we need to see retail signals if we really want to see like a huge pump up in terms of altcoins. I do believe that Bitcoin will like eventually pull the rest of them up. Early signals are going to be from some of the meme coins. As you can see, like a Doge is up like 6%, which is significantly more than other things in the top 10 right now. So if you see some of the meme coins pop way up, that also might be your signal. Like if the meme coin suddenly doubled, that actually might be your signal that like altcoins are going to pop soon, especially the L1s, which would actually drag everything else up as well. So you got to look for like smaller signs like that as well. But I think the four I mentioned are probably by far the biggest ones. Obviously, the macro economy plays a factor. Meme coins will give you like kind of an early signal into like which L1s are going to do really well. And there might be a meme season even before there is an alt season. And the meme season might actually like draw a lot of money away from a proper alt season, whatever that means. So those are the four signals you actually need to look at. I've just recently looked at open interest. That's not a very extremely reliable signal, but I would say like it's probably correct like 60% of the time in terms of which way the market is actually heading. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.